Hi there, everybody. I am Sapna Mahadevan, and I warmly welcome each one of you to PSTV. So I can see all of you joined in today's live here, and there are emojis that are coming up here in the chat box. There are hello messages. So a big wave of hi to each one of you watching me in today's live. And today I am back again with another interesting episode, which is a mystery genre, right? And we are again going to spark up a lot of imagination and a lot of creativity and try and write a short story all by ourselves. Yes. So the much needed requirements, that is the tips and the tricks of the trade, are something that I'm going to give you in this episode as well, right? And apart from all the learnings that we will have, there are going to be fun elements as well. Yes. So, with that, let us start our episode for today. I hope all of you are doing great. You're all charged up for today's episode. Yes. Do let me know in the chat box here if you have any thoughts that you want to share with me, perhaps, right? I'm all ears waiting for your comments here, right? So, do go ahead and share how your day went by. Are there any plans that you have for the day? So you can write to me here in the chat box, and I'm going to definitely read all of the messages, right? So let's move ahead with today's episode of the fiction story writing masterclass. And we need to unleash the writer in all of us, and have oodles of imagination, try to bring up that spark of creativity, yes, which is very much required while you're going to write a story which is filled with full of drama, right? So yes, coming up, let's look at all of the segments that we have specifically planned for all our wonderful viewers here for today, right? So the coming up segment, we have an icebreaker segment that's going to let us know better about each other, right? And of course, there are going to be essentials. Then I'm going to give you tips on how you can establish some of the essentials while writing a story in the genre that we are going to explore for today, right? And apart from that, there's going to be a guess the movie segment. There's going to be a think like a pro segment. There are crossword words that you need to find out in a letter maze, okay? And then there are Google it words. There's a recommendation of the day as well, and we'll also be delving deeper into how we can be expanding the plot of our story, and how we can add the much required drama to our story. Yes. So all this and more coming up in today's episode, and I hope you stay tuned in here with me so that we have lovely interaction going, and we can even get to know about each other better, right? So the first segment is all about knowing each other better, and that is the icebreaker starter. Yes. So today, let me ask you a couple of questions here. The first question for our icebreaker is, would you rather go to a bookstore or a movie theater? So do let me know your answers here in the chat box. Which one would you prefer? Would you like to go to a bookstore, or are you the type who would like to go to a movie theater, maybe to watch a movie, right? So do let me know your comments here. I'm waiting for your answers. And I, for one, I'm sure I'm going to go into a bookstore. Yes. So books are my best friends. Yes. And movie theater, perhaps. Yes. Sometimes I would like to do that as well. But given an option, maybe I would prefer to go to a bookstore, right? So, yes, give me your answers here in the chat box. I am waiting for your answers to come in here. And movie theater or bookstore, what is your preference? That's the question, the first one in our icebreaker segment here, right? Okay, so there are answers that have started coming in here, right? So I have Pragya tell me that she would love to go to a bookstore. Great, Pragya. Then we have movie theater also come up here. I love movies is another comment that Anshul gives me. Lovely. So yes, again, mixed bag of responses here, right? So we have movie theater come up here again, and then bookstore as well. Um, Library, okay. So I think you mean to say a bookstore, right? Great. So there are audience members who would definitely like to go to a bookstore, right? Yes. So that's one habit that we really need to inculcate, right? And make books your friends. Yes. So, yes, I have the answers to the first question here. And of course, they are a mixed bag of responses, but I can see bookstores also featuring in there, right? Lovely. So, movies also, let me tell you, a creative form of expression, right? So great to know all of your answers here. And let me now move ahead to the second icebreaker question. And the next question that we have here is a career choice, right? So, would you rather be a mathematician or a scientist? So, that's the next question that we have here. And mathematician, or so do you want to learn math or do you want to learn science? That's the question here. Yes. And one of the career choices that you would clearly want to take from these two, do write to me in the chat box. And Anshul tells me scientist. Great. So you really need to, you want to be innovative, right? So Anshul gives me scientist there. Then there is Prachi who gives me mathematician. Okay. Prisha saying mathematician, right? So we all love math, is it? I thought you're all terrified of math. So that's not the case, right? Great. So a lot of mathematician answers coming up here. And kudos to you all for giving me your answers here in the chat box. And let's move ahead quickly to the next icebreaker question, right? So the next question that we have for all of you here, would you rather eat a whole pizza or 10 burgers? So that's the question there. If given a chance to eat all of this at once, then would you prefer eating one whole pizza at a time, or would you like to eat 10 burgers? So that's the question there. And one whole pizza. Okay, and pizza, and I have done that in the past. Lovely. So all of your answers again coming up here in the chat box. And lovely to know that Sangeeta has already eaten pizza by all by herself, right? Great. So that's how much we love a pizza, isn't it? Okay, so most of the answers here again towards inclined towards a pizza, and I can totally get that, right? So one whole pizza is something that all of you would prefer, right? Great, and I get a like there from Amrita Yadav, and thanks a lot for that like there, Amrita. And do give me your responses as well in the chat box. I would be really eager to know your answers, right? So yes, that was the next question, and for now, I'm going to move into the last question for our icebreaker segment, right? And the last question there is, would you rather have a tail or four hands? Okay, so that's another question that we have here in our icebreaker segment, and a funny one at that, right? So, what would you prefer? Two more extra hands or a tail, maybe? Yes. Okay. Um, so Prisha tells me that, ma'am, you're not giving your answers. Okay, Prisha, point noted. So let me tell you, I would rather go for maybe a whole pizza, yes, instead of 10 burgers, right? And what was the other question that we had? Let me just check that. Okay, yes, mathematician or scientist, right? So I think science is something which uh, preferably, I would say math is something that I would really pick between these two options. So maybe a mathematician, right? Yes. So thanks for letting me know and reminding me that I have not given my answers, right? Great. And would you rather have a tail or four hands? So I think all of you feel a tail is quite funny, right? So four hands is the option that all of you are giving me here. Another like there that I am getting here in my chat box, and a lot of emojis. There are smileys. Yes. So I would also prefer maybe two extra hands, right? Great. So these were the questions in our icebreaker segment. I hope you had fun playing this round with me. And let's now quickly move ahead to the next segment. And the next segment is one of our golden questions. What's the genre, right? So let me tell you the genre for today. It is mystery, and mystery, as we all know, is a genre which elicits this whole thrill and suspense in us, right? And these are stories that follow the detective and their investigative journey to solve a particular crime or some sort of a mystery, right? So that's what the genre is all about. And in the mystery genre, let me tell you the subgenre for the day, and that is going to be a little unique, and it is called a caper mystery, right? So in this subgenre, the story involves daring criminals. They are executing an elaborate scandalous crime, and also let me tell you that it involves one or more crimes, right? And it is perpetrated by the main character or maybe a group of criminals, right? And also the point to be noted here is that it is always done in full view of the readers, right? So the crime is really extravagant, and the planning and the execution that goes behind that crime is the main focus in caper mystery, right? So that's the subgenre for the day. It's going to be really interesting to explore how we can be writing a story all by ourselves in this particular genre, right? So do stay tuned in here with me as I take you through some of the essentials that you definitely do not want to miss out while writing a caper mystery. Yes, so establishing the essentials is the genre that sorry, not the genre, but the next segment that we have here, right? And in this next segment, let me tell you that there are going to be three definite elements in every caper mystery story, and I am going to delve deeper into this and let you know all of those three definite elements. Yes, so onto my screen, the next thing that I have here are the three definite elements, right? So here you can see all of those elements that you definitely do not want to miss out on while writing a caper mystery. Yes, so for first we have audacious criminals, then we have a grand crime, and a team of criminals, right? So these are our essentials, and now I'm going to tell you all about all of these essentials so that you know and have a better understanding of how you can be incorporating each of these prerequisites into your story, right? So the first thing that we have here are audacious criminals. Yes, so the criminals that we see in our caper mystery story, they are not rudimentary, but they are actually very daring, clever, intelligent, and witty. Yes, so that's how you portray the criminals in your caper mystery story. Yes, and let me also tell you that these crooks, they are a bunch of colorful misfits, and they all of them come together and try to pull off one particular scandalous crime, right? So that was about the audacious criminals. So you're going to portray them as being intelligent and witty, and all of them coming together to commit some kind of an extravagant crime, right? Now, the second essential that we have here is the grand crime. So why is it called a grand crime? Yes, so this is the factor that distinguishes a caper mystery from a normal mystery story, right? So whenever we see a money heist that's happening, it's not necessary that it's a caper mystery, because for a story to qualify as being a caper mystery, the main element is that there has to be a grand crime. Yes, so the crime is going to be central to the story, and the crime is always going to be something which is high risk and extravagant, right? And it's always done in full view of the readers, and that is why it gives you that much needed thrill in the mystery genre, right? So your readers are aware of what the crime is going to be, and they are also aware of how these a bunch of crooks are going to commit that crime. Yes, and it remains to be seen whether they are successful in their planning and execution or not, right? So that's how we get a spine chilling thrill in a caper mystery story, and one of the main elements that we have here is the grand crime, right? So let me also tell you that I will be giving you details of what the crime can be when we go to the further slides, where I'm going to show you expert tips as well, right? So for now, you need to understand that the crime is going to be a grand one and a scandalous one, which is going to have a high stake. Yes. Now, moving ahead to the third essential, right, we see that there are a team of criminals. Yes. So whenever you're writing a caper mystery, you need to keep it in mind that there are no solo criminals here. There is always a group of people who come together to pull off this extravagant crime, right? So these were the three essentials that we discussed. The first one was audacious criminals. Then there are going to be a team of criminals. And of course, there's going to be a grand crime, right? So these were the three essentials or prerequisites. Now, let me move ahead to my next segment. And let me tell you that this next segment is again going to be very interesting, because here the name of the segment is Think Like a Pro, which means that you need to put on your thinking caps, right? And try and give me correct answers to the questions that I'm going to put forth. Yes. So let me tell you that caper mystery criminals, they normally have expert skills. So everyone has a role to play, and each of the criminal is an expert in one particular field. Yes. So here I'm going to give you some ideas that you can use for your story, and you need to figure out what are these skills called, right? So I'm going to show you pictures next, and you need to guess of the names of the skills that are required for this particular crime, right? Now moving ahead to the first picture that we have here. Okay, so that man is trying to break the code of lockers and safety valves, right? So that skill, what is that called? The name of the skill of breaking codes of lockers, right? So now you have to guess and tell me what is that skill called. Yes. And when we get to know the answer, then that's, you can, take inspiration from that particular skill. And while you're writing a caper mystery, you can have one of the criminals have this particular skill. He's an expert at breaking codes of lockers, right? And that's how he commits that particular crime. Yes. So there are question marks coming up there. No one knows the answer, perhaps. Yes. Think about this one, the skill of breaking codes, that too of lockers and safety lockers, maybe. Okay. So thanks a lot for all the likes. Tripti Kiran, Yang Fo Yang. Thanks a lot for watching the live. And I'm glad that you liked the episode. Yes. Okay. So there are no answers coming up here. So let me give you the correct answer. The skill is called cryptography. Yes. So that is what the skill is called. And while you write your own short story on a caper mystery, maybe you can have one of the criminals who is expert in this field. Yes. Now let's move ahead to the second one. And the second picture that we have here, the skill of painting an exact replica of an artwork. Right. So what's that called? So if someone has the skill of painting an exact replica of the Mona Lisa, then what is that particular skill called? Right. Okay. And there I have the correct answer. So thanks a lot for that answer there, Shweta. And the answer is art forgery, right? So you're an expert at, forging the artwork of some famous painter. Yes. So that is what the skill is all about. And let me now move ahead to the last one that we have for today. Brace yourselves for this one. This is the skill of remembering everything and having a photographic memory, right? So someone who has a photographic memory, what they can be doing is whatever they see, they tend to remember all of the tiniest details. Yes. So what is that particular skill called? So I get a comment there. It says, don't know, it's a new one. Yes. So these kind of skills, they are something that we often see in a caper mystery story. And just think about this, how interesting your story is going to be if the bunch of crooks who join together to commit a crime, they have each one of them has a particular skill like these, right? And the story becomes even more interesting for the viewers, for the readers, isn't it? Yes. So let me tell you the answer for this one. Skill of remembering everything is called hyperthynesia. Yes. So that is the name that we give for someone who has that particular skill of remembering the tiniest of details, right? Okay, great. So thanks a lot for all the answers that you gave me. And it's okay that you did not know some of them, but I know there are new learnings in today's episode. Yes. So we learned hyperthynesia is the skill of remembering everything. Cryptography is the skill of breaking the codes of lockers. And then we also had the skill of painting an exact replica, and that's called art forgery, right? Now let's move ahead to the next segment. And the next segment is the Google It segment, right? So this is one segment which helps you in amping up your vocabulary, right? The first word that we have for today is rudimentary, right? Now, you can Google up this word and check for the answer for yourself, right? And do not forget to jot the word down in your fancy Google It journal. Yes. Now, for me, let me tell you, I have an interesting placard that I have made here, which will give you an understanding of what the word rudimentary means. Yes. So let me show you the placard that I have made here. Yes. And this is just a pictorial representation, right? Can you see this clearly? Okay. So rudimentary means, if someone has understanding of basic principles, right? So rudimentary is always limited to basic principles. And the antonym for rudimentary will be advanced. Yes. So the synonym would be basic, right? And now here I have tried to make a particular distinguishing factor here, right? So there is one column which shows you basic English, and the other column shows you advanced English, right? So if you have a rudimentary knowledge of the English language, then you would say, I am happy, right? But if you have advanced knowledge of the English language, then you might say, I am over the moon, right? Did you get that? Now, for another example, if you have a basic understanding of the language, then you might say, I am fit and healthy, right? But on the other hand, if you have an advanced knowledge of the English language, then probably you would say, I am fit as a fiddle. Yes. So, do you understand this here? Rudimentary means limited to basic principles, right? And someone who has advanced knowledge or information about something would say differently, right? So that's what the word signifies. And you need to understand that antonym of rudimentary is advanced, right? So please jot down this word in your fancy Google It journal, and you can even write down the sentences that I have, given there. And the understanding here is that whenever you try to learn a new word, by making such kind of a placard or maybe by a pictorial depiction, then your mind is definitely going to retain that information for a longer time. Yes. So try doing this. This is one tip that I have for all of my wonderful viewers here, right? So anytime that you're learning a new word, maybe then you can give a pictorial depiction to it, draw something related to that word, and you will tend to remember that word for a longer time. Yes. So try doing that. And this was one of the tips that I had for all of my viewers, right? And the first Google It word that we had for today was rudimentary, right? Which means basic. Yes. Now let's move ahead to the next segment. And of course, do let me know if you felt that you have a better understanding of that Google It word now, right? And you can write to me in the chat box as well. Sanchali, thanks a lot for your like, and thanks for dropping into the live here, right? And now let's move ahead to the expert tips that we have for establishing the essentials, right? So the first expert tip that we have here is you can write a story which is mainly driven by the characters rather than the crime. That is one of the expert tips while you're writing a caper mystery. Yes. So in a caper mystery, generally we see that the focus is more towards the characters, their personality, their personal traits. Yes, and that's how the story progresses further. So we talk about the skill set that the particular character or the criminal has, right? And then we also talk about the maybe the friendly banter that they have amongst themselves, right? So apart from the plot, the story is mainly driven by the characters that you introduce into your story. Yes. So that is one of the expert tips that we have here. And the second expert tip is that you need to make a team of criminals who are well competent, right? And each criminal in the team should possess one expert knowledge, and they should have an expertise in one particular field, right? So what we see in a caper mystery is that all of the criminals especially, they have a special role to play. And even if one character is hard to get along, they cannot be dumped, right? So that's how important each of the criminals is to the storyline, right? And there is a particular expertise that they come with in the story, right? So you have to showcase them as being well competent. Yes. Now, the third expert tip that we have here is that you can keep the crime simple, but you can, of course, make it look grand by making it larger than life. So, how will you do that? Even though the crime is simple, maybe it's a money heist, maybe it's an abduction, yes, but you can make it look larger than life when the planning and the execution happen in a larger than life kind of a way, right? So that's how you can maybe change or transform a simple crime to something which looks to be extravagant, right? So that was again the third expert tip that we had there, and I hope that that is going to really help you in your story writing process, right? So now let's move ahead to the second word that we have here in our Google It segment, and the word is competent, right? So let me tell you what the word competent means. And again, I have an interesting placard to show all of you. So here it is. And the word competent would mean having the necessary skill set or the knowledge to do something successfully, right? So that's what competent would mean. And in our case, our caper mystery story will have criminals who have the necessary skill set or expertise to do their job skillfully, right? So that's what competent means. And for example, I have a picture of a doctor there, and the sentence that I am using competent in is he is a highly competent surgeon, right? So that means that he has the necessary ability, knowledge, or skill to be a successful surgeon, right? So that's the second word in our Google It segment, competent. And definitely you can write down the word and the meaning in your Google It journal. Yes. So with that, I can see a lot of thumbs ups coming up there in the chat box. And interesting placards come up there. Great. Thanks a lot for that, Shweta. And now let's move ahead to the next segment. And the next segment that we have here is a fun segment for all of my dear viewers. And the name of that segment is Movie Title Trivia, right? So what you need to do here is guess the Scaper mystery movie titles, right? So I'm going to show you pictures, and you need to guess the movie title, right? So the first picture that we have here, okay, so that was an interesting caper movie, right? And do let me know if you have answers to this one. I can also give you a clue here. There are Muppets, Kermit, Fruzy the bear, and there's also Great Gonzo, and all of them are disgraced reporters, and they are fired from their job because they are not able to break a story about a particular jewel heist, right? So that's why they are fired from their job and they are disgraced reporters, and that's what the story revolves around, right? So it's a jewel heist that has happened. And yes, I get the correct name of the movie in the chat box. So thanks a lot for that, Shweta. The name is The Great Muppet Caper, right? So an interesting movie, a fun watch. So now let's move ahead to the second picture, and here it is. Okay, so a Bollywood movie, which is again a caper movie, and a bunch of criminals again here coming together. So can you guess the name of this popular Bollywood movie which had a stellar cast, right? So there it is. That is correct again. Happy New Year is the name of the movie. Shah Rukh Khan featuring in that movie there. Yes. So now let's move ahead to the last picture that I have for today. And here it is. So another famous series. Yes. Definitely you can guess this movie here. Again, a popular Hollywood movie. Qualifies very well for a caper. Yes. So That is right. So it is the Pink Panther series, the return of the Pink Panther, right? Great. So thanks a lot for all of these answers here. And let us now move ahead to the next segment, which is plotting the plot. So now I'm going to give you three definite elements that you want to, introduce into your plot to have an engaging story, right? So for an absorbing story, what is the next thing that you need to do? You need to plan your story's plot in a better way. Yes. And how you can be doing that is by introducing all of these elements in your story, right? So the first one is portray the criminal mastermind and the crew, then construct the extravagant crime, and also lay down the antagonist, right? So let us delve deeper into each one of these elements. The first one that we have there is portray the criminal mastermind and the crew. Yes. So we see that there are a bunch of crooks who have come together to pull off a crime. Now, there has to be a boss in these bunch of criminals, who the crew is going to follow. Yes. So describe each one's virtues and flaws, make the characters appealing and keep them charming. You can give in personal character traits to each one of those criminals so that, the story plot also becomes um, funny and humorous in a way, right? And that was the first plotting the plot element there. And now the second element that we have here is constructing an extravagant crime, right? So there are going to be daring moves by the criminals. Yes, it's not going to be a rudimentary crime that the bunch of criminals are going to perform, isn't it? So there you are supposed to showcase some daring moves by the criminals. And also typically, in a caper mystery, planning and execution of the crime is the main focus of the story and not the solving, right? So you have to showcase the crime to look risky. There are high stakes. It's quite exciting, from under the nose of the police officials. How these criminals are going to perform this particular crime is something that the readers are going to, wait with unabated breath, isn't it? So that's the thing that caper mystery, distinguishes from a normal crime, right? So you can always also add humor and tension building factors into your story. And again, this can be done by the squabbling that happens amongst the groups, and that accounts for the drama and the tension in our story. Yes. So again, the second plot building pointer that we had there is how you're going to construct that extravagant crime. Yes. Now the third element that we have here is laying down the antagonist, right? So there are going to be security or maybe police officials who are involved, but we always see in a caper mystery that all of these officials, they are always showcased as being inept in their job, right? So you can always also, to increase the tension factor, you can maybe add near misses of getting caught and emphasize the defeat of the antagonist, right? So that's how you're going to lay down the antagonist. You're going to showcase them as being inept at their job, and the criminals are going to be really successful in committing the crime under the nose of the antagonist, right? So that's again one of the elements of plotting the plot, right? And now for the next segment, I'm going to give you expert tips. So the first expert tip is that these caper crimes, they happen in full view of the readers, and there's no secret there. So lay down the plan of the crime that is about to be committed, talk about that to your readers, right? And give them an understanding of how the criminals are planning to execute that crime, right? So it always, the crime happens in plain view of the readers, and that's how it increases on the thrill, right? Now the second expert tip that we have here is you can make these crooks likable and relatable to your readers. They are really attractive to your readers because your readers are going to be in a kind of an awe when they come to know that these audacious criminals are planning for an extravagant crime, and there are high stakes involved. Yes. And there are daring moves that they are doing. Yes. So there is a particular awe and mesmerization that your readers are going to come into. Yes. So even though they are committing a crime, you can showcase them as being people who are good at heart, who are really kind, and that's how you can keep them as a likable character to your readers. Yes. So that was again the expert tip number 2. And for the third expert tip here, the caper crimes, they always have an air of grandeur and lavishness, right? So it's not a silly crime that's going to be committed. Yes, so for this I can give you examples like, if you have seen movies in the caper genre, if I can talk about Oceans 11 and all of the trilogy in Oceans 11, Oceans 12, Oceans 13. Yes, all of these movies, they had lavishness, grandeur, even the Happy New Year movie. Yes, we can see that the crime that is committed is something which is large scale. Yes, like in Oceans 11, the three grand casinos are going to be, there's a money heist that's going to happen, right? So all of these movies tell us that there is an air of grandeur and lavishness that you're going to show in your story, and that can be done by keeping the crime extravagant, and even the setting of your story needs to be such, right? So think about the setting of the story carefully. It needs to be a lavish place, and it needs to be full of royal, right? So luxurious situations in, and you can incorporate high end situations as well. Yes, so this was the third expert tip, and of course it's going to be really interesting to see how oodles of imagination that you're going to gather and come up with an extravagant setting, right? So with that, we come to the end of the expert tips and the plotting the plot elements, right? And now we go ahead to the third Google it word, which is crooks, right? So you can give me the meaning of crooks. Check the meaning in Google and find out what that means. Yes, and let me tell you that crooks would mean a thief, maybe, or a dishonest person. Yes, that is what a crook would mean. And um, in our caper mystery, there are a bunch of crooks who come together. They are actually misfits, but they come together to pull off one particular goal, which is the crime, right? So that was the third Google it word that we had for today. Definitely go ahead, jot down that word in your Google it journal and try using it wherever appropriate in your vocabulary, right? Now, with that, let me move ahead to the next segment. And the next segment that we have here is a recommendation of the day, which is a book for today. And the name of the book is The Colonial Caper Mystery at Williamsburg, right? So do check out this book, and I'm sure that it's going to be a compelling read. And it's in a caper genre, so there is going to be some kind of a crime that is committed, right? And the name of the book again, The Colonial Caper Mystery at Williamsburg. Yes, so that's a recommendation of the day from us to you, and definitely grab a copy and have a fun time reading that interesting story. Yes, so with that recommendation of the day, I'm going to move ahead to the next fun segment, and the segment is locate the word. Yes, so I'm going to show you a letter maze, and you need to find out all the hidden words, right? So let me tell you, there are 4 hidden words, and all of these words are from today's episode. Yes, so it could be written vertically, it could be written diagonally, or even horizontally. So quickly, if you can give me the words in the chat box. You need to have eagle's vision for this. That means that you need to have a keen observation, right? And there I have the first word. Okay, and yes, that is also correct. So I have already I'm already getting answers here in the chat box, and let me tell you, you have been really quick. These are all correct answers, and the clock has started ticking, so I can maybe give you another 30 seconds. So you need to be quick in finding out all of the 4 words, right? All of them from today's episode, Caper Mystery Story. And there I am. Okay, so let me reveal all the answers. Some of them have already been revealed in the chat box. The first word that we have here is written diagonally, puzzle. And then we have riddle, of course. And also we have case. And the last word that we have for today is secret, right? So these were the words for today's Locate the Word segment. And Yes, thanks a lot for all of those answers. And now that I'm coming to the end of the episode, let me leave you with a refresher. So I'm going to give you a quick roundup of whatever we learned today in writing a caper mystery story. And first things first are the essentials. So we need to have audacious criminals, a team of them, right? And a caper mystery is never performed with a solo criminal, right? As we all have known till now. And there's also a grand crime, right? After these essentials, the plot building pointers, we have to introduce a criminal mastermind and a crew. There's also a boss who the crew is following, right? And each one of them is an expert in one of the fields, and that's how they are able to come together and pull off a crime, right? And you also have to construct an extravagant crime, so it's full of lavishness, and the setting is going to be full of royal and grand luxury, right? And how you can be constructing an extravagant crime is by talking about a grand crime. Yes, so you can always take a simple crime but turn it or transform it into an extravagant crime by talking about the planning, the execution, the daring moves that these criminals are going to perform, right? And that too under the nose of the police officials who are showcased at being inept. Yes, so lay down the antagonist. And I have Junaid Khan joining the live here. Hello there, Junaid. So let me tell you, we are already coming to the end of the episode for today, but you need to log in at 6 p.m. India time, and that's when I start the live episode, right? So for today, we had a caper mystery, and we saw that how we can be writing a story all by ourselves. You can, of course, look back at the video and understand all of the things that we discussed, right? And now that we have seen the plot building pointers, let me give you a fun project work here. So I would definitely urge all of my viewers here today to implement all the learnings that you have had from today's episode and draft your first caper mystery. Yes, and it's also going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be really interesting to see how you can come up with that imagination, come up with that grand setting of your story, right? And try doing this. It's always, as I tell you, it's just the first step that matters. Yes, and as soon as you take that first step, I'm sure that you're going to spark up your creativity and you're going to have a lot of story ideas, right? Now after that project work, let me tell you what we have for tomorrow's episode, right? So for tomorrow we have horror. Do stay tuned in with me at 6 p.m. India time tomorrow as well, and we will explore this genre of horror and see how we can be writing a subgenre in horror. Yes. So for today, I am Sapna Mahadevan signing out, and I want all of you to take good care of yourselves, right? Learn new things. Go for self learning and self growth. Try writing a short story all by yourself. And there are a lot of videos that we have posted till now, right? You can definitely go in your preferred platform and check for all of these videos and have an understanding and try writing a short story. Yes, so creative writing is something that's going to be really satisfying. Yes, so definitely do try doing that. Put pen to paper and try writing a story all by yourself. Yes, so with that, I conclude the session. Have a fun time, keep smiling, and stay happy. Bye bye.